Oh, there you go.
Oh, and I just hit Dramatica. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to Dramatica Users Group. Tonight we're going to do a analysis of the Mitchells versus the Machines, which is kind of an interesting one because one of the people that helped not write it, but work on the story is with us tonight, Jim, our host.
Oh.
So he's going to be either be generous and helping us all the way, or he's going to be biting his tongue the entire time.
And by the way, I had like this. I had a very small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what was your role?
Oh, I consulted the director. The writer directors were students of mine at CalArts.
Oh, wow.
So, phenomenally talented from the moment they walked into class. So, yeah, really, great, super creative. And so they asked me to help just take a look at it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Way to go.
I'm not going to say anything until the very end, just to see if
Oh, no. Okay. Well, you can kind of go, oh.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe everybody will see something different. I know the one that was discussed, the story form that was discussed. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what a story form is, and then what actually ends up. It's not, you know, it's not 100% going to be the same thing. So it'll be just interesting to see what comes out of it.
Well, let's hope that we get it. So what I did tonight for the overall story through line, I just copied the IMDb, not the whole thing, just the first part of it, the synopsis, because I thought it pretty well summarized it. A quirky, dysfunctional family's road trip is upended when they find themselves in the middle of the robot apocalypse. In terms of sort of the setup and what most of the movie, the overall story is about. It's a little more than just the overall story, but does that sound good to everybody, or would you rather want to amend it?
Sounds
Well,
good.
Sounds okay.
So shouldn't they be like trying to stop the robot apocalypse or something?
Well, sure. I mean, that's all part of it. I mean,
Okay.
the last half of it was, and you know, they're the only ones who can save the day, I think, or something along those lines. So yeah, that's in there. I mean, again, what we're trying to do is just capture the sort of a sense of what it is, what's going on, not necessarily how it resolves, but where the conflict is. And, you know, you've got the setup, the characters and the key characters and the main conflict. So the big picture. All right, so then I've also listed the main characters, the principal characters in the synopsis area down there. We've got Katie, who's the sister, Aaron, who's the brother, Rick, who's the dad, Linda's the mom, Mark, I think, is the inventor, and Pal is the AI that wants to take over the world. Right?
Hal, which rhymes with Hal. Yeah.
Well, yeah. There are all sorts of references to other films and dystopic elements. So let's start by identifying who our main character is. Anybody have a suggestion, one or two? Oh, there we go. Just had somebody showed up that I wasn't expecting, but glad to see Mike. Just popped in.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Hi.
So anybody want to?
Katie Mitchell,
Agreed.
says Nick from the Peanut Gallery.
Okay, anybody else, or is everybody in concordance with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Anybody disagree? Since
As a dad with daughters, it was hard not for me to empathize with the dad. I think that totally blinded me to which one it is.
kind of almost was wondering if the dad might be the protagonist, but I don't know if that's here or there.
Well, yeah, I mean, he could be the protagonist and Katie I mean, they could be split. I don't know who the protagonist is at this moment, but I mean, we seem to see the world through her eyes with all the sort of the animations and the styles that she draws things and sees things. The whole world seems to have that flair, the way that she sees the world, which seems to be kind of her subjective view as opposed to the dad's view. Although, again, I think, well, so I'll put Katie as that. If Katie is the main character, I'm just trailing off that thought because I don't want to get ahead of myself. If Katie is the main character, who do we have as the influence character, the impact character?
Rick.
Her father. Yeah.
Rick.
Right. And I think that's one of the things is that if they're both subjective characters, then you're going to see them subjectively. So, and there may be elements of one character or the other that you might be more sympathetic to or recognize or empathize more. But I think it seems that that Katie is the one through whose eyes we are experiencing the story.
Well, a really clear example of it is when she comes out the morning of her trip to college. And we find out with her that the tickets have been canceled.
Right. That's an excellent example. Yeah. And that's a perfect type of differentiation, is where we are experiencing the story as she experiences it, so that we get and we find out things that that she does, especially if it's in something in the relationship through line. And what is the nature of the relationship between? Anybody else do you have for the influence character, by the way?
I think if Dramatica had any influence on the unfolding of the story, it was very clear who the central relationship was. I mean, the movie was very clear.
And what's the nature of that relationship?
Well, it's family. It's dysfunctional family. It's other than father-daughter. I mean, how much more specific can we get than that? Just a troubled father-daughter relationship.
Okay, that sounds good.
Or parent-teenager.
I think
Yeah, parenting. Yeah, yeah,
Ungrateful daughter and incredible son.
Right.
Ooh, a little too close to home for you, is it?
He's worried about the future.
How old are your daughters?
15 and 12.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're pure angels.
And all the things he's learned from dad.
Maybe we should have watched it in a few years. 3 years.
He's planning that road trip already.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was pretty simple. All right, good. So let's hope the rest is going to be just as easy. Now let's switch gears, and rather than just sort of identifying the players' main through threads in it, let's try figuring out the character dynamics. So Katie is our main character, and as her resolve, does Katie does she fundamentally change her way of seeing the world, or does she fundamentally stick to her guns and remain steadfast in the way that she sees the world? And how do we know?
Well, I would point out that the movie makes an effort to show that both of them have changed their programming. I mean, each in their own, the father has changed his programming, and clearly Katie has too. The movie points that out. And so it becomes a question of which change arc is more representative of the, more essential theme of the movie. And but I think the intention would be that Katie is the more important change character here, in terms of, or at least in terms of the more important thing, because it's close to the beginning, closer to the end, in terms of where you see her 180-degree turn to where she wants to leave that family. Basically the bookend is you see her at the end after the climax and after everything is resolved and suddenly everything's back to life in the world is back to normal all of a sudden. But she points out, I'm no longer like wanting to leave the family. I'm still part of the family, and I'm and I'm no longer trying to get away from you guys.
So is that a main character thing, or is that a relationship thing?
Well, that's a good question.
That's why I asked it.
Yeah, because it is clear that the relationship itself underwent a significant transformation. The relationship did.
Yes.
But if you have to pick
so we're
one,
not asking about the relationship.
Right, but you have to pick one as a change and one as a steadfast.
No, because the relationship is not the influence character. The influence character is Dad.
Okay.
So in the relationship, if they have a dysfunctional family that is truly dysfunctional, it's not working well. But at the end, they're working well, and it's much more functional. That's great, but that's not what this question is asking. This question is very focused on Katie herself in her own personal perspective, not the subjective story, not the relationship story, but the.
I think also if it's a question of her wanting to get away, I still think that's rooted, or that's a manifestation of her really wanting support and not getting it, or encouragement or approval from the father. So I think that's that's a reaction to that, as opposed to what she really wants or what she's really struggling with.
I kind of think she stops searching for her people, and she realizes that her family is her people. So she's stopping that search. And that was her quest all along, to find her people from the beginning, I think.
So that doesn't answer my question as to whether she's a change character or a steadfast character. I'm not sure what that means.
I think she's a steadfast character. She very much wants to get to California Film School. And despite all of this, she ends up there. None of this deviates her from the future that she wanted. And so that stays consistent, and she ends up there. And I think that's pretty indicative.
What is also uniquely Katie?
Besides making the films?
Well, I think the films are an expression of it.
Her propensity towards technology.
She's weird.
She's a really unusual way of seeing the world.
Yeah.
And that is challenged by her father. He really does not get it at all. He just doesn't get his daughter. And by the end of the story, where is he?
Join YouTube.
Right. I mean, he's suddenly on Team Katie. And he gets it now. I mean, it kind of happens a little early, in my opinion, so that the ending is kind of long and not as dramatic as it could have been, because that little bit of tension between them was sort of resolved a bit early, or at least it had moved very clearly in the direction that it's going to, it's got a sort of the wave is crested, and it's just now got to roll all the way in.
It was like a fulfillment moment with the wooden object from the old house.
Sure. Well, I think that was sort of her. She grows in understanding what her father's about. There's no question of that. I mean, she doesn't. This object, which no longer has it had meaning for her, but no longer does, but has very specific meaning to her father. And she comes to, to understand what that is, which she can appreciate that, she can understand it and appreciate it in context then. And I think that's, he's using it for trying to communicate something to her that she doesn't understand.
I think also, like, on a bigger scale, if you just sort of ask the question of whose method is better set to solve the problems of this world, when her stuff gets projected onto the screens by him, it's pretty indicative of, like, hey, my way is not going to work, but I think her way is going to work.
Yeah, that's pretty literal. Yeah, exactly. And him going from the know nothing about technology to, to crossing that threshold into making an effort and starting to see the value in it, see the value in her weird way of seeing the world. And, as Katie is a main character, she has, a unique ability that's going to help the story end in success. And as we assume if it does, then that fits very nicely. So yours, Mike, you were saying that you believe she's steadfast and you think that Dad has changed. Is that primarily what?
Yeah. And I almost think they make a bigger
agree.
deal out of showing the dad change than they do of most ICs, but it's very clear that he changes.
Because they also make him so steadfastly obstinate to her way of the world. Willfully obstinate to the way she sees things. So that's why I think, it does make a really big swing. So when he changes, it's a really obvious change.
I would add that also that she, this is Nick, that she sees the world, for lack of a better word, one step removed or filtered, and through artistic eyes, and he doesn't believe or doesn't have faith that she can make it in the world or that there's value to her art. And we start seeing this beginning in the middle and towards the end. And so the realization dawns on him that there is value in this, or that this could be a way of helping things out, and he gets on board with that.
Right.
And that's why he uploads.
And literally looks through the world through this, camera lens.
Right.
So, I mean, the scene at the breakfast table or whatever it was, where he's, or the dinner table, whatever, I can't remember which meal it was. And he wants her just to sort of put the phone down and let's just talk. And then she's like, no, I got it. She's literally seeing, experiencing the world through this lens. And he just does not understand that. Okay, so I'm going to set it to steadfast. I think that we're safe there. I'm going to change context just because it'll help, I think, a little bit. Let's just deal with the outcome, success or failure. Is it success or failure? Is the story, the overall story, and in success or failure, and how do we know? And this is just a logistical evaluation, not an emotional evaluation.
Success, since they saved the day and all of the humans are saved.
Yep, I think that's a pretty
And the hero gets the girl. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. And how about the judgment, which is much more about, it's the more feely side of this, and it has more to do with, is the sort of pre-existing angst that is in the story, is it resolved or is it left hanging? Is it, it's resolved, it's good, but it's sort of still out there, it's bad.
Resolved because they're looking forward to the next trip.
So so you're saying with the family, the tension in the family's gone, that being representative of also the tension in the main character and tension at large. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody okay with
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, the reason I did this is we were starting to talk about, the change in steadfast and all these other things, and we're making references to the sort of how it turns out. And that's a really easy one in this movie. It's very clear. A lot of things in this that are just very, very clear. Okay, how about our main character approach? Does Katie approach personal problems? Is her preference as a doer to change the world around her, or as a beer to change herself or her expression of her evaluation of the world? What? Crickets.
I
I think
see her
she's-
as a. Go ahead.
I think she's a doer because she's always making her chart and her lists and her ideas, drawing them down, what we can do to solve this problem.
Okay, and can you give some examples? And how?
She draws, how to paint the top of the car with yellow paint, for example. The paper that she threw over the side of the building that the robots found that said we need to find the kill code.
Those don't sound personal. That's my only thought of. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a doer, but those both sound very much sort of overall story body kind of things, as opposed to something that's when she's going to deal with a personal, think of a scene or a moment in the story where she's dealing with something personal. How does she approach it?
There's a moment, the moment that she gets exposed for when she lies to her father
Yeah.
is very much like, I'm gonna present a false face here. So I think she's a beer, and I think that's the strongest moment of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
thought
also
she
going to
a
point to
doer
that.
too. Go ahead, Levi.
Oh, I just said I was going to point to that same thing, and for the same reason. I thought
Yeah.
probably a beer.
Yeah, I thought she was a doer as well because it feels so active. But the conversation she had with her little brother when she flat out says she lied, that would be a beer mode.
Yeah. Are there any other personal moments in the film anybody can think of?
Yeah, there's the fight over the computer. There is after the fight when she exits the room and goes off to be by herself in her bedroom.
She also exits and goes to the roof out after the Dino Cafe stuff.
So in other words, she basically wants to contemplate, or she seems to do the work internally. Then
It's like she wants to sit in her emotions,
which is definitely more of a beer approach as opposed to doing something about it. Okay, so should I select beer, or do we want to leave that optional at this moment?
Another thing that I would just point out is that some of those examples and originally I thought she was a doer, but really if you're looking at either her and her father or her and her dad, those really do seem to, her action moments seem to be more protagonist type things, moving the story forward, and protagonists are always kind of like doerish.
Not always, but yeah, they're definitely ones to move the story forward. But remember, it depends on whether it's an actual decision-driven story as to which is going to be effective.
One of the earliest defining moments for her was when she's a little girl in class, and she's talking about, I've always been a misfit. No one's understood me, and she kind of addresses that by making her films. Which seems like a pretty active response. So I'm not sure if that's good evidence for a doer argument or not, but it does seem like part of her angst is, no one understands me, no one gets me, but those people over there get me, or will get me. And so,
well, her films are uniquely hers, so that is probably something that's a very good expression of who she is.
I mean, it's almost,
well, that's why I thought she was a doer, because of how she created and directed all these films, and then it went into saving the world with that same experience.
So I had a question about the films. They almost seem like, because they are her just put into the computer, if they would count as being, because it's sort of just a different expression of who she is.
Well,
right?
I will say this: we don't actually see her. Well,
Yeah,
we don't actually see her on screen making the movie. Okay, let's start. All we see is we hear her voice. We hear her personality coming through the characters, through the sock puppets and the dog dressed up. It's like an actor. An actor is the consummate beer. Anyone who's an actor is being, very aggressively. And so you could argue that she is expressing her beerness through the performances in her film. Considering we see the performances, we don't actually see her engaging in the activity of filmmaking. We just see the result of it. So.
I think you see it like once or twice at the beginning when she's like setting up a green screen or something.
That's true. Right.
But for the most part, I think I would agree, and it feels like her stories aren't really so much stories. They're more like meme kind of things, and they're more like you guys are kind of saying, like expressing like the world more than, I don't know if that means anything, but that might feel more beer-ish. I don't know.
You got all the times you see her doing stuff, that's all in the backstory.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. And you have to admit that father arranged the trip at the end, to get the award, just as he arranged the trip, the initial trip. So that might be her beer, that somebody arranges these things.
I mean, you also see when her father cancels the trip, what's her response in the car? She's basically just sort of, grousing and pouting and not at all. She's not doing anything.
Right.
She's literally just turning it all internally.
I see you sulking in the back seat.
Exactly. That's definitely more of a beer kind of approach.
But even before that, she sulks.
Yeah. That's
hoping her mom will go, no, I'm going to change the ticket. I'm going to get the tickets again.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I know. That's what I meant. That's just definitely seems to be more of a beer. Let's just leave it alone with the idea that if we were using the whiteboard, I'd probably put a dotted line under beer, saying that's likely where it's going to go, but let's leave it fluid enough that we're not stuck one way or another by that decision. All right. Okay. Now, what about problem-solving style? Is she a linear thinker or a holistic thinker? And how do we know? I need a couple of examples. Linear thinkers look for cause and effect and try to find, follow, steps to achieve an end. Holistic thinkers try to recognize imbalances and rebalance things to get things back into balance. And they tend to look at the relationship of things as opposed to the things themselves, or
I get the impression more of linear when it comes to like the fighting the robot kind of things. Some of the decisions made, like with, like, I think like the dog, like having the dog be like the thing that sets the robots off, or some of the stuff that she does maybe with, I can't remember total specifics, but like with the USB drive in the mall and stuff like that, that I don't know, it felt a little bit more linear to me, but I don't know if that's a good enough argument.
Well, that's part of an argument, yes. Anybody have other examples of that, or The alternative?
When she picks up the robot arm, she just goes, well, if I push enough buttons, I'm going to get this to work. Right? She's just trying to make the item work. That felt very linear. And I actually think
but then when she has it, but then when she has it, she basically uses it, you know, she knows how to use it, uses it as a.
Yeah.
She camouflaged the car with the double lines.
Right.
That's actually a, you know, linear kind of thinking.
Yeah. It'll keep us hidden because they won't be able to see us. Right. Okay. Everybody okay with linear? Yes.
Well, the father is the screwdriver guy, right? And he's like, this is how we fix things. We use a screwdriver. And that seems to be very linear. And painting the roof of the car, although it does have a cause and effect, it seems very randomly, like unexpectedly balancing things. I don't know. I feel like it's that the father was clearly more of a linear thinker than she was.
Darlene,
it's not like a cause and effect.
Well, Darlene, here's an example where I think that the screwdriver in any normal circumstance would be exactly what you described. Except for the dad, he just wants to have that screwdriver so that it sort of is when something needs to be retuned or tooled or something, he's got the tools to do the tool to do it. And he makes sure everybody has it, even though apparently there's been no instance up to that point when they've needed that tool, but everybody had it with them. So yeah. I'd say that's the exact, but that if it was a linear person, it'd be like, oh, I'm going to need this. I'll take it with me. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it at home. He's like, no, I've got to have these things surround me so that if something happens and, I'm sort of ever ready, which is not a very linear way of looking at it.
I think also the whole idea of the road trip is extremely holistic. It's just, we need to rebalance these relationships.
So if we stick us all into the same box for,
yeah, I mean, she's got to get to college, but he wants to do a whole. She's already had he cancels her plane ticket. It seems like a very holistic kind of rebalancing act.
Right, because it's not like, oh well, we're going to achieve X, Y, or Z by doing this. He's not trying to save money.
Yeah.
No, he's trying to recalibrate the family dynamic.
Right.
Yeah.
And she does have a very simple life. Okay, I'm going to college, and there I'm going to step into the next thing that will assist me, help me find me, or.
But I think that is what this story is about. It's about the transition from the family as it was has now been disrupted because the daughter is going to go away to college. So that in the family is the big disruption.
But I was seeing that it could indicate she's linear in that she just does things one step, then another step, then another step to where she wants to go. Like she was going to take a step to college, and there she's going to find some people that she feels she can communicate with better, or whatever. So it just flashed.
Okay. I mean, and also if I go to college, I'll get away from this, from dad. But I think in the more, but I think in the smaller scale, because that's just like one big step of a, larger one of it'd have to be bigger than the story itself to start seeing those steps. I think, yes, she does seem to make linear decisions in how to, while she's problem solving through the various conflicts that, pop up during the robot apocalypse. All right, so story driver. Do actions drive decisions, or do decisions drive actions, and how do we know?
Okay, I'm going to say action on this one. And it starts with the overall story, right?
Well, this isn't
my proof.
These are all overall. It's basically, this is all in the overall story.
Yeah. So, and I'm meant to give an example of what that first action would be potentially.
The first driver.
The first driver. So I was thinking it was when the creator of PAL rejected PAL and broke his promise that he would never forget her. He says she's obsolete.
And has her thrown into the trash or whatever. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but I think the actual inciting incident is the emergence of the robots over the audience. That the beginning of the actual apocalypse. I mean, yes, there's a prelude to that, but the actual conflict starts when the robots, start flying over that audience.
I think it's all the same action.
No, I think
it's the same.
Yeah, it's all the same thing, but basically.
Yeah, it's still an action, but yes. Mm-hmm.
So then is it his decision to disregard her, or?
But he doesn't decide it, he just does it.
He just does it, right?
And then she decides, the way that I see it is he rejects her, he disregards her, and then she decides to take over.
Right.
Yeah.
Prior to that moment, she wasn't going to take over at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's off screen, which is why I was saying earlier, those are all kind of the same event, but
Mm-hmm.
if you want to parse it, that's what I think the decision is.
And the resolving incident is when Pal lands in a glass of water, and that's when she's extinguished. So that's when the antagonist is finally done away with, and that's just a thing that happens. So I choose action. I'm not sure what the act turns are. I have to go back and think about it, but it sure feels action driven to me.
Well, I think at one point when the rest of the family, gets captured, that certainly seems to turn the events so that now.
Right. The midpoint action is when they're in the mall and the server is blown up, and then the upload stops at 98%.
Yeah.
So that's again a thing that happens that definitely turns the story in a new direction, or leads to different decisions on what to do next. But yeah, that one action is the key midpoint.
Okay, and what about the limit? Do we have a time lock or an option lock? And please define what it is, if you can.
It's a time lock because Pal is planning on shooting all of humanity into space. And that's
at what time?
Oh.
That's the part of the time lock. Yeah.
I was gonna.
When she rounds them all up.
Right. Well, that's not at a particular time. that time lock is literally either a deadline or a fixed amount of time. Like she has to have them all round up by X. That would be a time.
Well, they're filling up those triangles, right? So when the triangles are all filled up.
Sure, but that would be what PAL is doing. I mean, it seems to be that there are a certain number of ways that we can overcome the robot apocalypse. And the first one that they try is to get rid of all the humans, to get them all, but that didn't work, right? Because you've got this family that's still going around, and then so there's these different stages, and ultimately you're down to they've got everybody, right? Everybody is pretty much in their power at that moment, and that's why that's the climax, because at that point you either are going to win or lose. It's going to bring about the end of it, and of course it turns out that the PAL loses, and everybody gets free at that point. But
Chris, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You said one of the options was getting rid of all the humans.
That's like the first step.
I never thought about this before, but the options can be things the antagonist does.
They're going to be connected to the overall story. So,
right, but I guess I just was thinking of it like, what are the things that the people that we're following have to do?
Well, the first part of it starts off with, we kind of are following the actions of PAL. then and happenstantially, the Mitchells survive, and that's kind of the end of the first act, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And then now that the Mitchells are sort of on board, then it's a matter of, okay, what's the next thing? Oh, well, we need to find the kill code, and so
we get to this mall.
Right.
There's several. I in terms of from the point of view of the good guys, there's several layers of. Pal has several layers of protection around her. All right, that have to be broken through, and that includes the robot minions, and then it includes the I don't know what the nanobots or whatever those black things were, and so it's it's basically busting through each of those barriers to get to the actual villain, in order to wipe her out. So yeah.
In fact, that's it. Remember, this is an animated film, so fortunately, it seems to be pretty clear about what the steps need to be taken. Not up front, but after the fact, it's very clear what they are.
But it is interesting. I mean, what was entertaining about this film was how many elements were set up and paid off. The first of all, you have the two robots who turned, and then they turned back, and then they turned back again. So that was an interesting thread. You got the screwdriver thread. You've got the dog that short circuits the robots because they can't recognize what he is. So it's continually setting up things that provide ammunition for the protagonists, in the third act. And so they're working through those options, one by one to finally add up to a victory.
Right. Okay. Great. Let me just save this and let's move on to the theme browser. And great. So now what we want to do, we want to try to identify each of the 4 through lines, assign them to one of the domains each, a piece. So anybody have thoughts on where the overall story is? This is going to be probably the biggest discussion, I think.
Well, can I? Okay.
Well, it might be really simple.
Can I ask a question about that? Because I mean, just the overall story involves getting all these robots to go out and capture these humans and put them in these thingies and shoot them off into space. And but the source of all that is this attitude of one particular AI entity that believes that humans are not not worthy of existing. And so while on the one hand, it seems like an activity of gathering up all the humans and imprisoning them, on the other hand, it's all driven by this attitude of this one antagonist.
Remember, it would have to be a clash of attitudes, and I don't know what is it. I'm not sure I would agree with whatever. I'm not sure attitude would be the one
right.
Of the choices.
Or psychology, but I mean, but the whole conflict, the source of the conflict is between Pal and Mark. And even though Mark, doesn't really kind of help save the day, but he's still the reason Pal turned evil, and now he is trying to defend humanity. And so there's this argument going on between those two about whether or not, so that
I'm not sure I'd use that inciting event for anything more than an inciting event. I wouldn't use that necessarily to describe everything else that's going on in the movie, because I think that you have to include the family in that, and that doesn't seem to, the fixed attitude stuff sure doesn't describe the family.
Okay.
So I mean, but I guess my question is, what is it that seems to be causing, what kind of conflict is it in the entire story? for everybody.
So
Including the family, including the robot, pal,
So-
including Mark.
I mean, the active robot apocalypse, which is a physics problem.
How things are changing?
No. Let's not get
Okay.
not get to the concerns yet.
Okay.
But what is that about? Is it the? See, I would normally say, I mean,
I think it's the existence of an AI.
but it's just not the existence.
But if AI existed and it had a bad attitude, that wouldn't be a problem for anybody in the movie, unless they were going out like they're doing and attacking and rounding people up. In this movie, we can suppose all we want, but if there's a sentient AI, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a problem for anybody in this movie, except for that they're going out and
So
capturing.
how does the
I'm in my
dog
car.
pig fit into this? 'Cause I think the dog pig is a really good illustration of where the conflict is coming from.
Oh, perfect. Yes, you just told me you guys have fun.
Wait, so you think it's
Oh,
psychology?
thank you, my
It's like
love. Oh,
computer
thank
can't-
you. Yeah, I would have if I didn't have this and we'd celebrate, but have an amazing
think
time.
someone-
And I'll
Needs to mute. Okay. All right.
I mean, to me, it's either going to be activity or psychology.
You think the pig dog thing is psychology? That's interesting.
Well,
No, it
it
makes
sure
sense.
isn't a
We-
physical thing. It's not a physical thing that causes a problem.
Are we doing overall story now? Or
Yeah.
the main
Yeah.
character?
We're doing overall story.
Oh, and it keeps saying justify to me why humans are worth saving because it can't think of one.
Right. I mean, you basically have a human who's really got a screwed up way of seeing the world, who, and it just disposes this thing that basically is, super intelligent, sentient being. And then you have a pissed off, super intelligent being that's in control of all these, maybe what appear to be non-sentient, and yet they actually are sentient, as we find out.
So is
And-
fixed attitude an option?
What would be the attitude? If it is, what is the attitude that's causing conflict for all of these things? I mean, yes, it is an option, but you have to tie it to examples in the story. I mean, that's why if you'll notice with and I may be completely off base with this. It may be just very simply an overall story of activity with a relationship as in psychology, this dysfunctional family, that would be probably the simplest way to go, and that might be it. But it doesn't explain a lot of the weird things like the problem with Mark and Pal and with the dog pig and all those other things that are really key to what moves the story forward.
My favorite line in the movie, the one that really stood out, that was a brilliant moment, was when Mark says, who knew that, stealing people's data and handing it over to an AI in the context of a unregulated tech monopoly would be a bad thing.
Right.
For me, I think that that's just another relationship in the relationship through line. I know that's not how we typically define it, but Mark and the AI feel to me like they're a relationship that is its own through line in addition
True,
to
but it's still. I mean, look. In an overall story, you have all these different characters. You have, guardian and contagonist and blah, all those, and there are relationships with clashing.
Yeah, but no,
points of
this
view
is a
in each of them.
this is a
So-
perspective though. This is a shared perspective of the other relationships in the overall, in the entire piece of the movie. It's not relationship and just, we talk to each other. It's a perspective that the author's given.
Well, I have one thought, which is looking at the other side of the relationship story. In almost all of the big relationship things that I saw felt like more activities. Like you have like the laptop breaking, you have them going on the road trip, you have them fighting the aliens, and all of that also I can see in overall story and objective story too, because there's a lot of that I think that's set up and set up outside of the family, but it's still, when I think of it, think of the relationship more in that realm for some reason. So I mean,
Yeah,
and that makes more sense to me. But
I'm gonna back Levi up here. I feel like
me too.
when I looked at sort of how the daughter and the dad were relating to each other, it was always through physical activity. It was the driving the stick shift. It was the great battle there was some specific moment in the mall, but when I think it was the using the fishing poles to snag a drone. There was a lot of they got each other more when they were doing something that turned out successful. And when I was watching it, I was like, no, this is a weird mirage, because the overall story is so clearly in an external thing. And so but I feel like if you just look at the relationship, it's totally in physics.
Well, can I say that the robots persuaded everybody through free Wi-Fi? You know, they didn't actually force the people into. They're like, hey, if you want to be happy, come in here. You know, it's a very persuasive type of winning the war, right?
Yeah.
And look at all those scenes going around the world where people are just panicking. You know, they go to France and Italy and you know, and all because of, you know, the Wi-Fi's been shut off.
Right. I mean, you know, and that seems to be, I mean, to me, it seemed to be much more definitely an internal thing, and just a wacky way of evaluating the world, you know, just not thinking right.
And we see two key instances of persuasion, and it's flipped on the parties. But so Katie uses persuasion by lying to her dad, to manipulate her dad at the Globe Mall, to say, okay, now we got to go to Silicon Valley. Dad, you know, you took us up the mountain and we had to come back naked after burning our clothes. And she was lying. She didn't really believe in anything that she was saying. She was manipulating her dad to get on the road trip. And then we see it flipped when Pal uses the videotape of all of that to destroy the minds of those people who were left, saying, see, they're all lying to each other. They're you know, it's to sow the seeds of distrust between the would-be saviors of the world. And that's all in manipulation.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, okay, for the moment, let's just think of the overall story and manipulation and activity, but where would we put Dad and Katie? And where does it, I mean, does that jive? Because if that doesn't fit, if they don't fit in the other two, then,
right,
you know, because all four have to fit. So where do we see the
I mean, I'm inclined to make her a beer and put her under fixed attitude, where you do see memories. I don't think that's the main concern, but impulsive responses, contemplation, innermost desires, especially because she is. See, here's the thing: if she was in a situation, she's thinking about the future. She's not literally saying, "Okay, I'm going to go to film school because you know, I have my whole career laid out. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do an internship, and then I'm going to do that." No, she just wants to be with her kind.
Well,
you know,
and she says she thinks I'm weird.
Yeah. So I you know, on a concern level,
Well, don't get there quite yet.
Okay, but still, I think it's an internal approach. It's like, you know, I'm not addressing my situation. I'm addressing how well I fit into the world I'm existing in.
And what about the dad?
Well, the dad is her father, and he
No,
is.
not that.
I mean, that's
Situation.
but he's again, getting to the concerns. I mean, there's we learn a lot about his past and
No. How is dad in a situation?
fixed situation. Anyone else, feel free to chime in.
They set it up really well.
I mean, his daughter going off to school.
But even more than that, even earlier than that. What is the it's not a pig, it's a, what is the
The dog.
The
Munchies.
Moose, the moose,
Oh,
yeah, what does the moose represent?
his failures.
Failed dreams.
Well, he gave up something for a family, right?
No, being an art, yeah, like
Yeah, he had his dream house, he was living in Shangri-La as far as he was concerned. And then his daughter came along. And in order to have a family, he had to give that up. And he took the moose which represents that past, that thing that he is.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, he's in this situation where he's a family man and he's, not in the world that he wants to be in, but he's making the best, but it's a challenge. And his kids aren't appreciative, but, for him personally, it's like he gave up a lot to have this family, and they're not, making it easy for him.
And notice we had the "you and I are just alike" conversation, but stated by a third party.
Right.
This time it was the mother who said "you and he are just alike" kind of thing. So yeah.
And of course, the way when he changes, the way he moved out of that is that he basically adapts I can look at the world differently now. If I look at it differently, instead of worried about where I'm stuck, I have a lot of things the world opens up to me. And I can be, I don't have to be stuck. I can be, I can see the world differently and get past that. At least that's the way it read, in a very simple way. That's the way it read to me. And the reason and I'm actually going to ask, I'm not going to leave Jim to the very end, because if we don't get this right, then everything else will be useless. But the pig dog thing, to me, more than anything else, showed how the thinking, it can't, it's completely a mental collapse type thing, like having a mental breakdown that turns off all the robots. Jim, you want to give me 2 cents on this? Are we on the right? Am I leading everybody down the wrong path?
I don't want to say anything because this is super interesting. And if I say anything,
sorry guys.
if I say anything, it's going to railroad everything. And so this is like a really unique opportunity.
I
So
was hoping to have a nice little, but okay, fair enough.
okay.
So since Jim is not going to bail me out here.
Well, I also want to know if it's one of these situations where you can talk so much about one story form and your brain just wants to write another one.
Yeah, that's why I said it could be the really simple one, which is the families in manipulation. I still think she's in fixed attitude and he's in situation, because I think that's the only one that makes sense for them. And that, activity is they're just trying to capture the last of the humans before the humans are gone. And that's as simple as that.
And I know what the intent was, but because it's such a collaborative medium and there's so many cooks in the kitchen, there's going to be a lot of different sort of interpretations of it.
Well, that doesn't
but that's the reality. That is the reality of it. You're right. There are. I could even tell I can tell that, okay, this set of dialogue or these scenes seem to be written by one person, and these other scenes, like the overall story scenes, were written by another person, because the just you know,
Yeah.
the computer stuff was written by someone, and then the relationship stuff was written by another. The
one thing I will say is that I have not looked at this at anything beneath domain level. So once we start getting into the concerns, it might at least the way I was looking at it, might completely fall apart. And
Chris, can I just ask if we're in psychology, what thinking gets sorted out that concludes this story?
Well, I would say look to the robots that changed. If anything, the ones that realize, oh, we can make our own decisions for it. We can do whatever, it's kind of like we can be whoever we want to be.
We can reprogram ourselves.
Yes, right. And reprogramming is not a fixed attitude kind of a thing, and it's not an activity. I mean, it technically might be an activity, but that's what that's why that's to me what kind of turned it, even from just sort of being kind of sort of that, but into where it looked like everybody was involved in that. But again, the easy way to look at it, and the byline of it is that you have this dysfunctional family, psychology, manipulation, in the robot apocalypse activity. I mean, that's the straightforward way of interpreting it. And it may just be that, and might be just easiest to try to see if we can find a story form that way. Because once we start getting into concerns, I think that's going to help us sort it out really fast, personally.
It's also just interesting that what you're saying too is that the thing that makes the dad successful in his life journey and his through line is he reprograms himself. So again, there's that huge, it just rhymes with the overall story of the two robots that survive are the ones that can reprogram themselves.
Right. But his reprogramming is a natural dynamic of the changed character, whereas theirs is not they don't go through that development process. They just make
different through lines,
which is right, because they're an overall story character. They can do that. They don't. It's not a deep-seated issue. So why don't we see where our main character, where we think our main, where the concerns are, whichever way it works. Let's just look at where the concerns are, because again, that I think will help us focus in on what's going on. So
I keep thinking that the father's dealing with how things are changing, but it doesn't. The other concerns don't fit with that. I think, but he is. I mean, I'm in a similar situation where my kids are all going off in 4 weeks, and I'll have an empty house. Just similar to the father. So the how things are changing kind of resonates with me and how I saw the movie. And how through the father, but I can't see that the other things are, because the daughter seems to be dealing with more of her dreams. So innermost desires.
Oh, right. Well, and again, is he dealing with how things are changing in the first act, or is he dealing with it throughout the entire story? That's so you're going to find how things are changing in that thread. It's just, is it always present, or is it dominant in one particular area? Anybody have idea where our main character is? I mean, is she seem to be stuck in memories? Doesn't seem to be. Contemplation, I think, is a very big possibility. Innermost desires is a very big possibility. You know, she definitely has. She's very emotional. You know, she's very emotional, and she expresses herself emotionally, and I think that the animation is an example of that. Not only that she does, but also that is attributed to her worldview of how, you know, how the world is with all those sort of 2D animation effects.
I mean,
you know, if you're looking at the overall story, if you look at the overall story as the AI, you mean, and you've definitely got changing one's nature there. You also could say, okay, it's really about obtaining. Obtaining to me sounds really too cold, but it also sounds much more, you know, obtaining, doing that dynamic pair sounds.
Pal is trying to change the nature of life on Earth, but do what? Well, what are they going to do with the planet after they've gotten rid of all the humans? There's no
make it better. That's what they say.
And to attain or achieve what exactly?
I think the simple one is that basically you're getting rid of the humans. That's would be an obtaining in the negative.
Okay.
You know, let's collect them all, put them together, and just get rid of them. I mean, that's the simple one, which is always really, because we don't know. It doesn't seem to be a doing, because there's not this sort of active process that is a problem. It's just, we got to get them all. And there's those pesky ones that are left over until once we get them all, then, you know, then we can move on to whatever the next stage is. And if the family is in psychology, changing one's nature, you know, the very nature of the family is changing when the daughter is leaving the family. So, you know, it's sort of partial empty nesting. You also see the son is now learning about girls, and, you know, I mean, there's a lot of family dynamics in there that are definitely, you know, being about a dysfunctional family. So, I mean, that's the simple read. And yeah, I agree about how things are changing. Seems to be that, although I couldn't afford for Rick, I can't say dialogue wise where that is the future. I mean, he seems to be certainly in the back of his mind.
The only future for him, the future for him, I think, is the mom says, if she leaves this house and never comes back, that's a problem.
Okay.
And that is the thing.
That's why it'd be a concern.
That's why he cancels the trip, because he needs her to want to come home.
Right. So it's one last road trip.
Yeah, it's like he has one chance to make her think it's worth coming back home and not staying in California forever.
Right. And that's a really good, that's an excellent one. I mean, as far as I'm there, that's enough. And, you know, you've got what she wants to go off and find people who are, you know, like-minded and be herself and share her dreams and her feelings and, you know, hopes, innermost desires, that kind of stuff. And I think that
you know, she certainly gives voice to the fact that she does not plan to come back ever.
Well, right.
She says that 2 or 3 times.
That's true. Like her alarm, when her alarm goes off morning of, it says, something like "Time to Leave Forever" is what's on her screen. It's really like, oh, rough. But yeah, in terms of like her subconscious, it's funny because I usually think of seeing that as like, fear and love and that kind of thing, but they really go out of their way to say she is unlike anybody in her town. They show her heartbreak in that class and how relieved she's going to be at the mixer. There's a mixer,
Right. They're people who are like me.
But
Yeah.
so
Are like-minded people.
An innermost desire to find her tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
And, in a certain way, like that's just a different expression of love, right? Like you want to be with the people that you fit in with.
right, longing. Yeah. Right.
that's why ostracism is such a hard thing to bear.
Yeah.
Be cut out.
Okay, so does everybody comfortable going down the sort of the same old path? Well,
Sure.
I mean, it's very familiar because it's pretty much our cultural bias. So that's it.
But did you decide? I mean, so that quad for the concerns, yes. But are we staying with manipulation in the OS, and so it's changing one's nature in the OS?
I'm not convinced one way or the other. I mean, I lean toward manipulation, but I'm not convinced it's it. I think again, what the intent was versus the actualization of it might be different. What I picked up out of it may just also have been, a certain bend in the storytelling as opposed to what the author's intent was. All right. So let's move it down into the issue level.
So are you selecting main character, your main character concern of innermost desires, right?
Yeah, or dad's concern with the future. A future with a future of a broken family, or especially since he, again, for him, he left his perfect world to have a family, and if it's now going to be broken, it sort of makes it all question, why did I do this in the first place? At that when he gets to the midlife crisis stage. All right, so, and I mean, if you look at for innermost desires, we've got closure, hope, dream, and denial, a very familiar quadrant for us. And I think you've got dream and hope are probably a lot stronger than closure or denial. She seems like she wants to move towards something, not away from something, right? By leaving.
100%.
Yes, but at the same time, this kind of gets to the stop question. Is she, as a steadfast character, is she waiting for something to start or to stop? And I feel like, yes, she wants to move into a world where she's with more like people, but I feel like the thrust of the story is more about getting away from the people who don't understand her. So to me, it feels more like a stop story, at least in that regard. Anyway, so
well, okay,
yeah.
but that's I was just looking at in terms of the sort of the closure denial track versus a hope dream.
Closure denial.
Is that, or do you want me to move to the overall story physics version? Would that be easier? Anybody? We can go anywhere. I'm just trying to get moving.
Right.
Well, as far as dream, the elements inside of dream, those seems to be more of the things she's dealing with rather than the closure or denial type of things. You know, people believing in her, feeling lack of support. So I think that dream and hope make more sense.
Okay. All right. Let's look. Go ahead. Well, let's look and just see what we have in our obtaining. We've got approach, attitude, self-interest, self-interest and morality. Any of those seem to be the area that are in the robot apocalypse? Seem to. I mean, you certainly have self-interest as part of it. There's no question of that. I mean, Mark seems to be completely self-absorbed.
I would say maybe morality, because you have like a lot of the temptation with the Wi-Fi stuff. You have like, is it worth, like disbelief that humans are valuable? I don't know. That's where I'm leaning.
Okay.
Well, I think Pal is driven entirely by self-interest, right? She's doing this for her, right? She's wiping out all of humanity because she got rejected, which feels very self-interested.
Well, she is like her maker.
Did we say that the overall story is activity or manipulation?
We're right now we're just pretending it's activity. It's activity. I mean, otherwise, if we were looking at this as the family, does this read as the family?
Because the family is very self-interest oriented, in my opinion.
And obviously, approach and attitude. There are a lot of issues regarding approach and attitude with them, with that relationship. But self-interest also is like what are the self-interest of the individuals versus the morality of the family unit as a whole. I think comes into play. So
yeah, self-interest feels way more like the family unit kind of, or I guess I should say relationship side of things. If we're going that direction.
Like I said, I haven't really. I'm not calling it yet because nobody seems to have. I'm leaning one way, but okay. Let's look over here at Dad. So if he's concerned with the future, openness, delay, preconception, choice.
I mean, I think the dad is very clearly openness or preconception. And I think he lacks is openness. And if I had to put him somewhere, it would be an openness, like a negative open. He doesn't have enough openness. Because he's not using computers. He doesn't want the world to change. He doesn't want his daughter to leave. He doesn't want to listen to her, like when she shows her plan, right? Hey, here's my plan. Let's do this. He's not open to it at all. He wasn't open to the idea that art had any value in the world. So,
well, I'm wondering if it's more preconception and like that he preconceived like that it's not going to work out for her, not so much that art is bad, because he feels like he's an artist, right? But it didn't work out for him. At least that's kind of what I was getting.
Because remember, and choice is also very strong. It's not it may not necessarily be the issue or counterpoint, but certainly the fact that he made this choice in the past to give up that cabin that he built and sell it and raise the family, that choice is certainly with him, and helps define his character.
Well, and you also have certainly delay. I mean, he does seem to want to postpone the inevitable as long as possible. But that's
Well,
how much of that is him versus, you know, the overall story of the relationship.
his influence over her is the delay, isn't it? He stopped her ability to directly go straight to college. He delayed it by this terrible road trip. He's influencing that delay is what brings all the impact in her life. She doesn't give up her dream, but the delay seems to be the thing that's kind of propelling the story as far as their the impact he has, in my opinion.
You know, Darlene, it's almost like he shifts from he opposes her to he supports her.
Right, in terms of where he is as a change character.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good point too.
So if we just look at the last domain we haven't looked at, which is changing one's nature. And in this case, we're talking about the family, which I think if you look at, you know, the subjects of these, they are typically more family. I mean, I don't know that we have, well, rationalization, that would probably work.
Which one?
Commitment. Commitment, obligation, responsibility, rationalization. I mean, you've got support and oppose are over here in rationalization. But that doesn't mean anything.
Well, that which would line up if it's the overall story doesn't necessarily line up if it's the relationship domain.
Right.
But let me ask you this: would rationalization make sense as the issue for the overall story?
What rationalization? I don't think so. I don't know.
I mean, again, the source of the conflict is all about you know, rationalizing why humans are not worthy, you know, of existing. So I mean, you do see responsibility. I mean, and if you're looking at the quad in the overall story, you see responsibility. You know, the Mitchells suddenly find themselves being responsible for saving mankind. I mean, that's in the log line practically. You know, and then you know you do see you see obligations play out, you see commitments, but I think you know you could potentially see rationalization or responsibility. Maybe one is the issue and one's the catalyst. But I could see that illustrative of the overall story.
And do you say it's stronger than here?
Because if we pick rationalization for the overall story, we pick approach for the relationship through line. And to me, approach versus attitude, I think resonates really strongly for the relationship. That, you know, it's just like, you know, your whole approach to, you know, this dilemma is to take us on a road trip. Your whole approach to, you know, birthday presents is to give us all screwdrivers, you know. Just it really seems that you know,
your approach to looking at the world,
right,
between the filtering and the direct eyeball contact.
And if rationalization is under the overall story, then we would have support and oppose, as you know, well, we have support, oppose, consider, reconsider. And you know, I think well, I think oppose is really strong. I mean, you know, because it's, you know, the source of the conflict is oppose. I oppose humanity, you know, create more and more opposition, even create new kinds of bots to battle, you know, the survivors, and you got to reconsider as symptom response, because what they're doing is, oh, you know, you have, okay, so you have the silver robots who are going, oh, look how much fun it would be to go sit in these chairs and do nothing but watch Wi-Fi, you know, watch YouTube all day or whatever it was they say. Do you like to have fun? Wow, yes, I like to have fun. Everyone says that about me. I like to have fun. Well, come along, you know. So they're using consider, at least initially, to get people to sit in those pods.
Sandy, can I interject with where I love about where you're going is, I think the best use of reconsider in the whole story is pig, dog, pig, dog, pig, dog. And it, like, they can't help but reconsider, and it is basically their weakness.
Mm-hmm. So however that quad lines up, I feel like those that grouping seems to resonate for the overall story for me better than any other grouping on the chart right now.
So opposes the problem, right?
Yeah, opposes the problem.
For Dad too, right?
Mm-hmm, right. If he, yeah, being the change character.
I'm just going to make it some decisions, some choices here, so that we oh yeah, of course it has the problem, right? And that gives us, for our main character, so she can either have a problem. Well, we're talking about Dream, right? So her problem. Oh, okay. So that's all falling in the right places. Approach. So I guess the real question is then, we were saying that the consider then is the symptom.
Well,
right?
Is
yeah, because the reconsider was the
be the response.
Response.
Yeah, I guess that would end up putting the overall. No, that still would put the overall story there. Now the main. Hang on. Symptom.
So we're down to one. So let's look at this. I mean, we're talking. It's going for many people who can't hold all of those choices in their head. I wanted to put something in concrete so that they can look at it, and then we can, you know, consider
okay
what we're going to do.
Well, interestingly, that moved the main character into situation and the influence character into
that's because I chose,
right, because you chose the let's see, consider and oppose as the problem and symptom, and they're vertical to each other, so that creates a story form, which if the OS is a manipulation, that puts the main character in situation, and that vertical configuration.
No, actually, it puts them no matter what. Let's see, we put fixed attitude.
Okay, so then it becomes a symptom of reconsider and a response of consider. Would that make sense? Because certainly, look, the symptom, okay, remember that the source of the problem, or maybe this isn't the great illustration, but how reconsidered her she was, the human's best friend and best sidekick and best servant. And then she totally reconsidered that and created this evil.
Well, and so did Mark. Mark reconsidered his relationship with her and basically said you're useless. So she did the same thing, which, and took control.
And again, and if you think, well, okay, so this very often confuses me, because which is consider and which is reconsider. You look at the two sidekick bots, all right, the Eric and Deborah bot, I think they were called, and they a lot of it comes down to you know, if you know, if you can change your programming, so so can we. Okay, and that's well, again, that gets back to reconsider.
It feels like consider to me.
Right. And let me ask you this. Could it be that the impact character's problem? Okay. I don't know if this will work, but is it possible that the problem is support, because what he's trying to be supportive, and it's just, it's just not working out. It's just creating more problems. His trying to be supportive is creating more problems. But then again, how does that translate into the overall story?
I don't really see him as, I mean, I guess he's just trying to support in his own way, but it feels more opposed, especially at the beginning, like with the phones, and like how eager he is to like destroy them and everything else.
But then when he does try support, to your point, Sandy, like with the computer, he breaks it. Like it's almost too much support. It's almost like
right,
the overzealousness of fake support, or but
well, is that support or help? Well, let's look over at our main character the way it's looking there, because it's a little.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't really read.
Well, and then I was also wondering too, because I could have a little bit of an argument for the main character and situation, in that they're stuck in the car, they don't want to be there, and the dad being in fixed attitude of kind of his "you're not going to go anywhere" kind of thoughts as the artist. But I don't know if that's strong enough. I think it still fits better the other way.
Well, but that's a temporary. That's a temporary thing. Remember, that's not very personal.
Okay.
I mean, she as a steadfast character, but once she's out of the car, then there's no problem, right? So
yeah.
She's not really stuck in the car, because they get out of the car a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's do this. Let's go back to I'm gonna remove this for a moment. Right, so let's go back to the theme browser, and let's make a choice looking at an activity overall story. All right. So we have this would be what, an issue? No, concern. Obtaining would be a concern. All right, so if we make this the overall story, I just want to see what kinds of changes that does. And we wanted this to be the dad. So this is going to be the influence character concern. And how much does this change everything? It's pursuing a void. Let's just say it's this. And I'll just see where we are. How much of it is, now you're starting to get help and hinder, which sounds a little closer to dad, I think. And we have delay as the inhibitor. That's the overall story, sorry. Our dad is situation in the future, preconception, pose, I don't know.
I mean, like with pursuit, could the avoidance come from like kind of repelling other people away from him, or is that not really a good example
For
like the dad? Because he does seem like he's like kind of leading the road trip and like, oh, I'm gonna do this and we're gonna do this, and then that kind of has the opposite effect. I don't know if that's a good example of symptom and response though.
Well, I mean, Rick Mitchell believes the problem can be resolved as it concerns the drive to seek after something. So, I mean.
Well, so this is not necessarily the way that the story guide talks about symptom and response with the influence character, but he sees the problem as her pursuit of going to college, her pursuits are just so weird and out there, and yet, so his response is to avoid dealing with the issue. And mother says, "Did you talk to her yet? Have you had to talk?" And he seems to avoid direct confrontation with a lot of things and just make decisions. Like, okay, we're going to hunker down at the mall. When she wants to go pursue being the good guy and destroying Pal. Because when do the good guys ever just hunker down and say, let's eat apples while New York City gets gobsmacked with the Ghostbusters?
Right.
So
and if she's and if he's the change character, then we do see the from opposed to support, his movement going clearly from opposed to support.
Here's why I don't like this is the moments with sorry, what's the computer programmer's name? Dave?
Mark.
I mean, the very few conversations we have with Mark, when he says his, the line about maybe giving all of our information to unregulated AI was a bad idea. Like, that is such a reconsider thing that they call out. And I feel like we've lost that in this, this design here. And so much of what I feel like with, when the computer shows the, when she manipulates her dad and then the computer shows it again, it's like, well, reconsider this moment, and you're going to see it differently. Then there's the pig dog thing. And then also there's, when looking back at all the, all the memories they have, they reconsider their relationship because they look at this old tape. And I feel like we're missing sort of in that story form that took reconsider and consider out of it.
There is the line the mom has that's like, or I think, no, the dad has to the mom that like after they saved the day with the screwdriver, like, oh, see, that was a good gift or whatever too. That feels like
right. That's a reconsider. Yeah. So
she does say, let's not relitigate this.
Yeah.
And then he reconsiders and says, you're right.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about, because I really thought consider and reconsider were going to go the other way, but looking at reconsider as the focus, it's like the daughter's going to get on the plane and go away forever, and so the dad reconsiders the trip, and that creates a lot of problems. But the real issue is that there's this opposition to her going to art school, and eventually that turns into full support at the end, and that works out in the OS really well. If it's rationalization and the problem is opposed and the focus is reconsider.
In which domain?
Psychology. which really surprises me. I never would have found psychology. And then I think for her, you know, she's in mind, and her issue is closure, which is great because she wants to get out of town and never come back. She wants to close the door on where she grew up. Her problem, her motivation, right, is avoidance. She just wants to get out of there. I can't quite nail down her focus of reconsider, to be honest.
So you saw reconsider as
here's a good moment of reconsider for her focus. Well, sorry, I see reconsider as the OS focus. And then also for the main character focus.
So hold on, Mike, you're saying her problem of avoidance, she grows into that?
No, I'm just saying she's motivated to get out of town. She's motivated to get. I see your problem with what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. She doesn't really grow into avoidance.
no.
It doesn't deepen her. I mean, that's doesn't make any sense.
No, but I think if you see as a steadfast character, avoidance is what she basically motivated to get away. She's trying to leave the family. That's the whole, remember, she's basically saying, I'm getting out of here. That's my primary.
And Johnny's saying that doesn't deepen with the movie.
If anything, it lessens.
Yeah, well, that's fine. You can grow, again, you can have your resolve can weaken, but that's part of growth too. I mean, she may be like so rooted, and then it lightens up so that it's not so.
Well, she actually makes a deliberate thing, like at the beginning, it almost, when she says something to her brother at the end, that makes it seem like, hey, we're gonna talk every week, right? So it definitely.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me, but okay.
But like I said too, like I'm having trouble figuring out what her focus of reconsider would be, and the only one I can really think of right now is when things are going really bad, and she's like, maybe this would look better with cat filters. Like let's reconsider this moment, but with cat filters.
But that sounds like is that?
Or that's considered, but like that would actually be like more like her direction, but.
Right.
That, which seems a little weak.
All right, so let's we were looking at, if we have the overall story. Gosh, this is why I wanted to get Jim to cheat for us.
You want me to cheat now?
Can I
Yeah,
ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Really fast? When the movie first started, and there was this moment where I thought, oh, this is the robots, they have no idea what the family, they're going to be the heroes. They have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And so I could see that was going to defeat the robots because they were all calculation, but they couldn't predict what the family was going to do because the family didn't know. And so it led me to experience and skill. I ended up building some Storyform where that was really important, because like the main character would be skillful and then not skillful and experience. So I'm just curious where that lands in all of this.
When we get there, I'll be able to answer that.
Okay, I just thought I'd share that because that was the initial thing. I thought, this is it. But then I didn't know where to go from this is it.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
Okay.
Me too. Okay, so give us a little bit of a hint here. Yeah.
So there's two things, and I wrote down everybody's note because everybody's identifying all the storytelling parts. It's just the elements are off, right? Like everybody's saying all the right stuff, but then it's like, oh, but if you think of it this way, that's actually closer to it. So, or at least to what the intent was, like the original intent. So there's two things.
Well, no,
One,
accurate, non-accurate, but go ahead.
no. So
I
there's
think there's acceptance in there, but I don't know what it. I think that's her thing, but that's all I know. That's all I can think of.
So there's two things. One, it's a true story. So the director, when he went to CalArts, his dad thought it'd be a really great idea that they all go on a road trip because of the same exact thing. So this is a road trip movie from the East Coast to California Film School, which is CalArts, and along the way, all the kind of screwball stuff that goes on in it.
Right.
So the intention was the objective story in physics, that it was the road trip type movie. And then the second thing is her whole thing about being an outcast is her personal thing. Like, she doesn't fit in, and that's why she wants to get away. And what nobody pointed out is at the end, she has a girlfriend, which is a huge thing, that she was in a place where she's not feeling comfortable. And at the end, her mom's like, "Oh, did you meet some new friends?" And she has the rainbow pin. That was very purposeful. And the fact that she found her kind in California Film School, which was the steadfastness.
I got that, but I
Set that up.
just thought that was
So that
Not a
was
big-
So she's a situation character then.
so that's universe for sure. Yeah, definitely, like,
Yeah.
just the typical universe thing. That was the intent. And John's totally right. Like, her drive is acceptance. Like, her dad doesn't see her, like literally just doesn't see her, and is like, "Oh, let's go on a road trip." Which is like, wait, no, that's not what I want to do. I just want to go to film school. And so they do all this kind of crazy stuff because he's not seeing her, like appraisal, right? Like, he's not actually seeing her. So then I was writing down all the different things that people were saying. So yeah, like when Sandy said she makes films and feels like a misfit, that was universe. Phil was talking about finding her people. Oh, why are they not? So the reason why they did all this stuff, it's kind of an indictment of the information age. So, these are younger generation. So the reason to get rid of all the humans is the laziness and inaction, essentially. So, like, the idea that, oh, whoever thought that this was a bad idea, like, you didn't even think about this, like, you did nothing about this, and that makes the problem worse.
Right.
And then at the end, and it's a little bit of the mom too. I there's a little bit, she also has a bit of a change where they go from this, like, unresponsive, like they're sitting at the dinner table and everybody's on their phones, not really paying attention to anybody. And at the end, they're actually like protecting each other and, fighting and doing all that kind of good stuff as a family, like learning how to be a family on the trip. So that was the intent of it. And so his personal drive, the influence character for the dad, was that he never followed his dream. So that's the inaction part, right? And then at the end, he's actually fighting for her to be able to do the stuff that she wants to do at the end. So that was this, I think this is it, right? Steadfast, stop. Yeah, and I think Sandy said something about stop, more about getting away from all the people that are getting in the way, which was definitely part of it.
Well, I did think of situation a little bit for main character because of the not just that she was in the thing, but like you said, like trying to get out of the town. I'm gonna get out of this place, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah, and her unique ability is being able to make those films, which is absolutely a personal thing with filmmakers.
Yeah, that's a very, like, her film is what saves the day.
Yeah,
yeah,
but totally on purpose. Like, that was the intent of it.
Yeah, I think the part that didn't read at all was the attraction issue.
I mean, speaking as somebody who grew up in a very conservative area and being attracted to going to a very weird school, I could definitely, I could personally relate to that as well.
Okay.
Like being attracted to the kind of people, and it's very subtle, but I can tell you there's.
Oh no, it fits. It just wasn't. It was, yeah, it was subtle. It was not.
And that was totally on purpose. They didn't want to make it like a really obvious thing. So that's why it's really handled like, oh, you meet some new friends. Oh, that's great. Which is the acceptance that she's looking for, that she's not getting from her dad, who's like, no, let's keep doing what we've always done and all that kind of stuff. And so the opposed to support, it's not like he's not rejecting her outright. It's just like not even seeing what's right in front of her, like not even seeing, like an inaction sort of thing that then moved to the protection.
I guess the conflict is we want to see it as a sci-fi story, you know.
Yeah, and I would say also then when you get to the collaborative issue, so that the fact that everybody went to obtaining, I guarantee, because this was part of the issue, is getting across what that learning objective story goal would look like. It's really hard to say that in a way that people understand, because the default is just to shift the thinking into obtaining, right? So and there's other people that are involved in the decision process.
Right,
Not
and I think that's, I think that they definitely seem to be colored that direction that did not feel nearly as organic as the rest of it.
And I think too, I think Sandy said this too, where he was like, it felt like they were both changed, or there's like evidence of like the intent was to show them both changing or reprogramming. That was absolutely added on afterwards. The intent was always steadfast change, but then you get into those conversations and people are like, oh, you know, they should both learn from each other, and then that turns into what Sandy.
So basically, so the whole plot of the AI, super AI versus the humans was layered on top of the road trip concept, and they didn't quite merge together. I take it, right?
Like the original title was Control Alt Kill, which I think is a great title.
Right.
Which was funny. Like the version that I saw was, I mean, I think it's a great film, but the version I saw earlier was even funnier. Because it had it was a lot more coherent, like Storyform wise. So I mean, I still think it was a great film, how it all turned out, but I would say definitely, especially there was issues I know with the last act for sure.
Yeah, basically it felt like the story was over, but they still had to finish it.
Yeah, and it's really,
the subjective story was over, but the overall story hadn't quite caught up yet.
You know, so then you like tack on an obtaining sort of thing, like, oh, let's jettison the humans out, and then you're like, well, why? What's the point of that? Like, you know, so but yeah, that was the idea behind it. I think that's pretty much what everybody was saying, but it was really interesting because everybody's pointing out all the different storytelling stuff. It's just like, oh, but then if you just shift it and look at it like over here, it's closer to these elements, you know, like.
Well, I think also there's so much, there's an emphasis in the film, so much of it was on the robot stuff that I think really de-emphasized the family, unfortunately. I mean, the family is definitely, you know, a good portion, most of the film, but
yeah, because
I think the family stuff was the strongest.
Yeah,
when you're saying you know, flipping it, it was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. It would have been a different film if it was the object story was like fully in psychology and she was there. I could totally see that for sure.
Right. But it didn't feel the same.
But think of it this way, it's like, oh, the plot is like kind of, we're not sure, the objective story is not really kind of working because, you know, again, it's like everything's pointing towards learning, but then the things towards obtaining. So then let's add a lot of dysfunctional, funny gags, which then kind of pull it into psychology, right? Like, so, and that's where you're getting, why you're able to see like both. That was my interpretation of it.
We have, and now the relationship through line was supposed to be the father's daughter, right? It was not supposed to be the whole family.
No, for sure, father daughter, yeah, and they love the You and I montage video in class, so that's why that's in there.
Wow!
Like, yeah, we got to get that in there. So, for sure.
Way to go.
But I mean, like, you know, it was a little.
We had a Deus Ex Machina for this particular story farm. You know,
There was
God came in, you came in and said, okay, let's just move this around just a little bit, and whoa, it all falls together.
No, I mean, it was really like what I saw was like 80% there anyways, which was like maybe a year before, but it was definitely just issues with the last act. And I guarantee you it's the whole learning, obtaining thing, because I always have that problem getting that across.
Right.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if you, how would you, okay, if you had to go back and, you know, kind of take the script as it currently, as it was made, but go back and fix the script, what would you do by you know, still keeping the AI versus humanity premise, but massaging it so that it's more about gathering information or learning as opposed to obtaining?
Oh, I think I gave suggestions as to what that might look like for the final act, but then you'd have to set it up earlier. I would need to have like 4 or 5 $100 million, $200 million films under my belt where I get to make the decisions, and then I could do that. Otherwise, nobody's going to listen to me.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he was asking that. I think he was
but what would you do? What would you do to tweak it
look,
so that it fits, so that the OS does fit into gathering information?
Oh, well, I would have done, and I do think it is there to a certain extent, is the family learning how to work together as a family, almost kind of like an Incredibles thing where they're working as a unit at the end, which is kind of sort of in there. But
well, if that, here's the thing, if that echoes out into the bigger world, right, where it's like, you know, all of humanity learning to work together as a family, to oppose these outside evils, then fine. If it echoes out to the bigger world, then yeah, I could accept that.
Because somebody was saying reprogramming, right? That's definitely the concern of learning. That is like what's going on, is like learning how to use all this information and learning how to work together, how to, you know, pushing more of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I think one problem I have with Pal, she really didn't fit into the story form at all, because she was just an antagonist, right? She was just like prevent. And it really wasn't like, oh, I don't want them to learn about this.
Or if Pal, if it was sort of like Pal's really sort of underlying motivation was, I want to learn, I want to dissect these humans, you know, dissect their brains or whatever, and learn what, you know, and learn what I could get if I'm trying to make myself more powerful. All right, then you know, humans are clearly inferior, but they've got something that I could use. So if I could somehow dissect all of them and gather that data, which is still, this is still a metaphor for, you know, you know, how we're all being abused and sold and commoditized. Our lives are being commoditized, and so taking that idea to an extreme, to where the AI is trying to gather all this data in some way to make itself more powerful,
like trying to get and not being able to get an idea of what humanity really is, right? Like it can never make that connection. So you could have done that too, I think.
Perhaps, but yeah, but the goal is to get.
She just can't figure them out. She's trying to learn what they are, and it's just they make no sense.
Instead of just jettisoning them out, which is very funny. Like
exactly, but dissecting them, matrix, or just imprisoning them forever, matrix like, and again dissecting their brains.
Well, in that, just subjecting them to different data and seeing how they're responsive and trying to learn from learn from them.
Yeah, like putting them in a rat maze kind of a thing would be really funny.
Yeah, because all the conversations always it always has to turn out to be saving the world from destruction. Those always have to be the stakes. Literally, like every conversation in the story meetings. So doing like what we're doing right now is like, people will be like, oh, that'd be really cool, and then there'll be an executive in the corner that's like, well, what are the stakes? Like, who's gonna what was this going to mean for the world? We got to save the world somehow. And it's like, all right, well, you're paying for it, so I guess we got to put that in there. You know, that
Yeah,
kind
well,
of stuff.
every single Marvel movie is saving the world from yet another destructive thing. So,
Mhm.
God, I'm
But
glad I don't live in the Marvel universe.
Unless you could come back as a sequel, you know.
Right. Exactly. But no, to be honest, the doing something like that where the AI has a motivation that's a little more sophisticated than just getting rid of humanity, to actually learn, understand, but in a very malevolent way, of course. It's still high stakes. In fact, in a way, it's like, you know, they're not just throwing us into space, they're messing with our minds. That might be a little too sophisticated for an animated film, I don't know, but I think that would have been more challenging for the audience, and more cohesive to, I think, what the original intent was, what, you know, the original germ of the idea was.
for sure, yeah, because it would be about learning, you know, like the dad's not actually learning about the daughter, and so then on a macro scale, like what you're saying, would be awesome. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, so let's see, we got what is it, main character in the present, influence character, contemplation, relationship, story, conceiving. Well, you know, again, I go back to, you know, as I was watching it, I felt like, okay, this section was written by one person, this section was written by another person. So you could see where there were conflicting visions, I think, at play.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. Several different story minds at work. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, particularly whenever you've got the robots involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, apart from them being it's just a general obstacle, but I mean that really integrating them as like, yeah, it seemed to. And I guess, you know, my part was overthinking the pig dog stuff, because I mean it was so important in the story, but it was just a storytelling bit.
Well, and to get that reaction, like that's the response. So all the film
right.
stuff.
No, it's like, you know, it's a comic bit.
Yeah.
And it was very funny.
Yeah, I had some great laugh out loud moments. But there were also I'd be honest, because there were things I liked about it and things I disliked about it. I thought some of the attempts of humor were kind of cringeworthy, but some of them were like right on the money. So it was a mixed bag for me.
Well, it's great. I'm glad you were here to save the day, but also I think it's really nice to have that sense that we can get that answer.
Yeah, it's been like 30 years. Now you have this was what the Storyform was intended to be.
Exactly. I mean, every once in a while, someone, you know, we have the filmmaker or the writer who's involved, but that's not that often. But that was great.
That's really, really interesting how that played out.
Yeah. And really very different. I mean, not too terribly far from it, but.
Right. But just enough. But now you see, and you're like, oh, okay, I could see this is what they were. I can see where it started out, right? Like,
yeah, I can certainly see the overall story is very clear and the main character is very clear. The other two through lines are there, but I think they got swamped.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
yeah. I mean, I see those other storylines as really like informing the backgrounds of the characters, but not really informing what they're doing in this movie, which may have really helped writers write them. Right? Like you say it and I'm like, yeah, like, because they did talk to the dad. They did say a bunch of times, like, why did dad give up on his dream? Right. And it's clear that she, you know, is proactive and she does these things, but it's like, that's not what they're dealing with in this 48 hours. Or I guess it's a little bit longer than that, you know? So I can see why this is a way for the writers to embody their characters, but I don't see this current story form being the one that's actually what we're seeing.
Right.
It's super interesting though.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Never to be repeated again.
Okay. So what are we doing? What are we doing next month?
Oh, I don't know.
Can't remember.
Power of the dog.
Oh, nice. Up, happy film. Watch that again. Good film, but
Another road trip movie.
Right.
okay, guys. Well, this has been swell. Should be there's a lot of good stuff coming out on video, or at least promising stuff on video and streaming and in the movies. I do want to see Maverick in the theater though. I understand.
that's
Pretty
really
impressive.
What's up?
I think it's I understand it's really impressive. They use the
Very much so, yeah.
new camera setup to get the inside the cockpit look.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's amazing on all aspects of visual and audio. It's just phenomenal.
Wow. Do we need to watch the old one again?
No.
No, but I've watched that movie probably 100 times, so I have a bias there. I'm pretty familiar with it.
I think I saw it when it came out. But I think maybe I mentioned this last time. I did actually meet Goose, the real Goose, the guy who, he didn't die.
I would hope not for you.
But the one who was the
ghost.
Yeah, and very interesting. Still in the government, working on not a flyer anymore, I don't think. But really smart guy, super smart guy. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
You guys have let's see where we are in June. Have a fantastic 4th of July.
Okay.
Well,
We'll do.
Enjoy
so
your Flag
much.
Day.
Yeah, I'm going to be next time. Going to be around what's the French?
Oh, Bastille Day.
12th, Bastille Day, right? That 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's around there. That's next time. See you.
In the bike race.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
it
the Tour de
usually comes
France?
around that time. The Tour de France.
Probably will. Why? All righty, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Good night.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good one.